Bit about the series. I mean, it features a female protagonist, which is not often taken on by a male author. It's not totally uncommon, but can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what inspired you to write the series?
Well, it was an editor. I'd written the first book in the Border series, and she said, "Well, female leads, female protagonists are more popular." I said, "I can't do that. I'm like this. That's not. I'm not. That's not going to happen." And she said, "Well, I think you can." And so I did. I wrote the first book in the Freedom series, Free to Run, about a young Mexican American girl uh, who actually her parents had a ranch in Sonora, just on the other side of the U.S. border, her dream was always to be a barrel racer, and so she um, does that and excels and so then that's where it started. And so yeah, this is now, yeah, this Sacrifice is the third book in the Freedom series, and so we've carried it on, and yeah, I think it's turned out quite well.
So I imagine it was a bit intimidating to start on that journey, but they do seem like they're pretty popular in terms of your series. You have two different series. There's the Border series, which you just mentioned,
Yeah,
that kind of, but they both touch on the Mexican drug cartels. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of some of the research that you've done for your books?
sure. Yeah, I through some real estate investments, I that there were really bad investments, but they taught me a lot about drugs, and and I wouldn't recommend that experience for anybody, but I came to a point where I just wondered, like, where's all this stuff come from? How do these people just get this stuff? And so much of it comes out of Mexico. A huge percentage of the drug problem comes out of Mexico, comes from, Mexican cartels. Before that, it was Colombian. But the Mexican cartels, in the last 20 years have certainly taken over that. And so, I started doing a lot of research, and at that time I started writing, and it just seemed to be a fit. And so I do. I mean, they're very much, both series are very much, ranch cowboy stories, but the Freedom series, a lot of it is set on the American Mexican border, but it's wide ranging too. I mean, it starts out in Montana, and where the protagonist Dina goes to pursue her barrel racing career, and so anyhow, yeah, that's how I got started writing about drugs, and or about including them in the story.
And your experience in your former life, I suppose, it comes out of a rodeo background, and you can really see that in your books. Can you talk a little bit, in particular, and we're jumping around a little bit here about some of the things that you talk about? For example, in Blackwater Crossing, the first book in your Border series, you describe a pretty graphic incident of a bull stepping on a cowboy. Can you talk a little bit about your rodeo career and kind of how that's influenced your writing? Because you certainly know what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, it comes very naturally. I spent a number of years as a rodeo cowboy, and yeah, it was something that I wanted to do ever since I was a kid, and was very fortunate to be able to do it. And so yeah, a lot of the incidents in Blackwater Crossing and in all of the Border series, uh, they're very real. They come from my own experience, and And yeah, you mentioned the bull riding incident in the first book in the Border series, Blackwater Crossing, and yeah, that wasn't hard for me to write because it was something that I saw. It was a very graphic thing, and very it was a tragic thing, um, and so yeah, that's where it comes from, and so yeah, it's very natural for me to write about rodeo.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that, and as your daughter, like full disclosure here, right? As your daughter, I've only seen you ride once. That was up in Kispiox, and I believe was it bareback or saddle bronc? I don't
But
remember.
saddle bronc, yeah, yeah.
And you won, but we were at that rodeo, and I don't even know how old I was, maybe 13. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah, probably.
Um,
Yeah.
but a horse broke its leg,
Oh no.
and they had to take it out, and next thing you know they had to put it down, and
Yeah.
this kind of life, it's it's pretty graphic. It's real. I mean, you see these things, and you can tell that in your book that you've lived a lot of those experiences, whether it be life on the road. I know that you've had a couple close calls with traveling and stuff like that, as you do from rodeo to rodeo. Or, I think when you were a teenager, you said you had a horse. Was it hit by a car? Is that what happened when you were riding?
Well, yeah, I guess I've had a few wrecks over the years. Yeah, I did have a car hit me. I've always, right from a kid, I've always, trained horses, and it was a young mare, and she spooked and ran right down the middle of the highway, and a car came along and hit us. The driver never saw us till the last moment, and it was right at dusk, and I could not get her off the highway, and I was probably 12 or 13 at that time too, and so fortunately, it was one of those Volkswagen Bucks, and it just upended that mare, and we walked away. I walked away. Of course, it killed the horse,
Yeah.
and so yeah, and yeah, I guess in and out of the rodeo arena, there's been a few wrecks. I think anybody that you know interacts with horses, and certainly unbroken ones or broncs, as we do in the rodeo arena, you're gonna have a few broken bones.
It's a lot of trauma. I mean, physically, but also, emotionally. You witness stuff like that, and friends, acquaintances, animals, and that I'm sure it takes a toll, for
It
sure.
does, yeah, yeah.
Your research going back to the drug cartels, you spent a little bit of time in Mexico, probably a fair amount of time in Mexico over the years, researching your books. What kind of research did you do while you were there? What did that look like for you?
Well, Darcy, I mean, all of my books, I liked, I guess if uh, when people read my books, I want them to go away knowing that this is authentic, and so when I write a new novel, I go to the site. I want to know every street, every creek, every draw where this happened. And I guess just for me, I think it helps me explain it better. I think it gives authenticity to my books, and I certainly, have readers say the same. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Mexico, and a lot of time along the U.S. Mexican border, um, because that's the setting for my books. And so yeah, early in the process, had to learn some Spanish and be able to get along in places where tourists probably shouldn't go. So, we've been in some very interesting places. I remember one trip to Mexico. I was down around along the Arizona Sonora border, and I really needed to see a little town on the other side. And it wasn't a very good place to go because right at that point in time there was a drug cartel war going on, and and actually walked across the border because the town was right on the other side, and it was very interesting. There were no other tourists in town, and it was quite an eye opener to uh, go down the street and see the bullet pockmarks in the walls of buildings and know that, yeah, this happened a week ago. This was not, this is an ongoing event. So yeah, it like I say, it does give some authenticity to my writing, I hope. Sacrifice is it kind of has a new twist to it. One of the things I've always wanted to write about was child kidnapping. It's a huge, huge issue, not just in the United States, but worldwide. It's actually it's $150 billion a year industry. Like, it's huge, and so I kind of worked that into the plot on this one, and Dina in this story, Dina the protagonist in this story, goes through some really life wrenching experiences, and I won't give away this story, but I have, like I say, worked child kidnapping into this story, so I think it'll be a good read. I've always been a rancher, and so in kind of a little bit out of the way place, and a lot of what we've done is very much first generation uh, jet agriculture, clear the land, and everything that goes with that, and in order to get crops, and so you can have cattle and so on. And so yeah, I thought, wow, I think I can maybe add a little bit different perspective to and information to for those who would like to go out and start that farm or ranch and be self-sufficient, and this is what we've done. It's yeah, I think it'll will be a good story.
Very helpful for people. A lot of people are, kind of going back to their roots. I mean, even just looking
Yeah.
at real estate prices, people are moving out of cities and,
Yes.
trying to learn how to live off the
Yes.
land. So super helpful. I know we talked a little bit this summer about it, but I was wondering if you could share your story about kind of what you got you started on your writing journey, because this isn't something that you've done your entire life. Can you share that experience? I think it'd be really inspiring for young authors.
Well, I guess I always thought about writing. I always wanted to write, but like most things, or most people. I mean, there's a lot of things in life we want to do, and we put it off, and we put it off, and I don't have time to do that now. And so I got to a point in my life where I thought, if you don't do this now, you're never going to do it. So uh, and I was, like I said, I was a rancher. I didn't really have extra time, and actually I was involved in real estate and some other ventures at the time too. But so anyhow, I started getting up at 5 in the morning so I could have a couple hours to write, and so that's how it started. But I should um, I should just go to a little bit of inspiration. I actually went to this seminar. It was at the local college, and it was kind of one of those seminars where you explore what you're good at, and it's a kind of a career change thing for people, and that don't really are not really happy where they're at. And anyhow, I went to it, and one of the things that this lady had us do, she said, "I want you to write a one-page essay on who you are." And so I did. I thought, well, this is kind of dumb, but I did it. And she's when I got the paper back, she scrawled across the top, "But have you ever thought about writing?" Just hit me like a lightning bolt. And I tell that story because it really affected my life, for this lady to give me that encouragement. And I tell that story for teachers, for anybody who interacts. I mean, I wasn't a kid, but for anybody in the teaching profession, you never know. And I haven't seen that lady since. I wouldn't know her if I passed her on the street, but you never know how you influence other people. And so, I just tell that as encouragement for others.
So how old about were you when you started writing seriously?
Oh my goodness, I was probably late 40s.
That's really a neat story. And the thing that comes to mind that you shared with me, and I'm not sure if it originates with you, but it's something that I have on a Post-it note on my desk. You do now what others won't do, so tomorrow you can do what others can't do.
That's a good one. Yes.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome. So 8 books in, what's next?
Well, I'm going to try to spend at least part of the winter getting this ranch and farm how-to book finished up and off to the printers.
And can we expect to see more of Lonnie Bowers in the future?
Yeah, I think Lonnie has a little bit more to say.
Looking forward to sharing this new book, Sacrifice, with the readers, and I think it's going to be exciting to see, what's next for you. Certainly, once you have this other book out of the way that you're getting together, and that'll feature some pictures from your ranch, correct?
It will.
Kind of your
Quite a
experience.
few. Yes.
Excellent. So we'll talk more about that as that becomes available for people.